Hi, this is Councillor John D. Clare from Aycliffe North, and today I'm going to speak to you about the budget consultation, the 2017 budget consultation exercise. Because, as you may well have heard, we have to make cuts next year to our budget, £15 million worth of cuts, to be honest. And so we're going out to people to talk about how they want us to make those cuts. Before I start, you'll be being told in letters to the press two things about those cuts. The first one you'll be being told by people on the right wing of politics is that this is all a result of those spendthrift Labour councillors, and it's all because they're so wasteful up there, and it's all their fault. And the other thing you're being told from people on the far left of politics is that it's a cruel Labour council and they just need to say no to cuts. They just need to refuse to make the cuts and the government will crumble and give them the money. And both those ideas are bonkers. The simple fact is, which I hope everybody realises by now, is that since 2010 the government has been steadily reducing the grants, the money that it gives to councils. And the result is now that we have now every year £200 million a year less to spend that the government has given us. £200 million is a fifth of £1 billion. So every year we have a fifth of £1 billion less to spend on you than we did in 2010, and next year they're giving us £15 million less on top of that. So it'd be £215 million less than we had to spend on you, and that has to translate into some kind of cuts in expenditure, into savings, and this is why we're coming to consult with you about how do we do that, and to let you give us a steer on how you want us to make those kind of cuts in our county. We have no alternative. We cannot spend money that we don't have. And so these are our ideas. And we've spent money producing a leaflet explaining everything to you, but the important page is this one, and these are our ideas, and basically there are three of them, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk you through them, and then I'm going to tell you what we want you to tell us. Okay, so the first idea is that we are going to reduce management and back office. Okay, and we're going to try and save £7.2 million by reducing management and back office, and then it gives you some kind of ideas of the things we're going to do. One of the things that we're going to do is we are going to, quote, merge departments. This is a big deal at the council at the moment. Transformation is the in word, and it's about stopping people working in silos in departments all separate from each other. We're going to shove them all together in a modern working environment, and they can communicate with each other, and the efficiencies, because it'll be so much more efficient, will save money. That's the idea. If you're very cynical, you'll just say, well, it's just about making fewer staff work harder, but it's maybe it's just about making it easier for them to do so, and that's going to be the way, one way to save money. The second way is this reducing budgets on supplies and services. So that's procurement, is it? About getting tougher deals on procurement. I have a lot of grief on Facebook from people who are going mad at me about the tough deals that the council is making nowadays. How can I make ends meet on this kind of money they're giving me? They're saying. These are the same people who 10 years ago were saying, these wasteful and inefficient council, throwing the money back. Procurement, we got to get a better deal for our buck, quite frankly, and that's just how it's going to be. The third one it says here is reducing the cost of maintaining and running council buildings. And that's a really interesting idea, because in the past what we've done is we've had a building and then we've run a service out of that building. And in order to do so, we've had to pay the costs of running the building, insuring the building, heating the building, lighting the building. And so the idea now for more and more services, as we look at each service area in turn, is we're stripping the service out of the building. And then what we're doing is we're running that service from out of a community building, a youth centre or a leisure centre. Actually, a community building that can do with the money it gets from hiring the rooms out to us, to tell you the truth. And when we've done that, it gives us the chance to get rid of that building, to sell it or to give it to another organisation, sort of just stop using it if the worst comes to the worst, and we save running costs on that building. So those are the ways we're going to try and cut back office and management costs. Now the second way it says here is, this is the one, isn't it? We're going to find new ways of working and generating income to save frontline services. So we're going to cut back office as much as we can, and then we're going to find new ways of working and generating income to save the frontline services, the ones that you see. And there's so this is the worrying one, and this is the one you may have things you want to talk about. One, it talks clearly here about basically putting up fees, putting up charges. One of the things we've found as we've looked at our costs is that County Durham Council, in many cases, has been charging less for its services than other authorities, but giving more in benefits. It's been a very generous council, and one of the ways that we can save money is by just doing what everybody else does. Sort of, you'll have things to say about that, I know, and that's why we're asking you. One of the ideas in here is called spends to save. The idea is we do have reserves. If we get rid of some of the old inefficient equipment and machinery and buildings and things and get new modern ones, we'll use capital, yes, but we've got that, we'll save revenue, and that's what we don't have. Well, that's what was being taken away from us. There's some talk about selling services to other authorities. We're already very good at that. But there's other things here, and this is the one that will worry anybody. They talk about redesigning services. And I've had a bit of complaint on Facebook from people sort of saying, how can I comment on redesigning services? You give me no detail about this at all. So how can I say one way or the other? How can I comment on this? And all I'll say about that is that I don't think you need to worry, because any redesign, anything that is about redesigning a service, you will find that there is a new separate consultation on specifically that when the idea comes forward. So for instance, it talks about redesigning school and education support services, and whatever is suggested there, I don't think they just intend to do it. I think you'll find that there's a consultation on that specific idea when it comes forward, and you can have your say on that in a separate place. If you don't trust us on this, well, write it down and say, if you're going to redesign anything, I demand a proper consultation on it. Now the last thing is down at the bottom here. It says, sorry, I've forgotten. They're going to try and raise £5 million by new ways of working and generating income. And that leaves this gap between what we have to save and what we're thinking we can save in that way. And that £500,000, the idea is that we will take that £500,000 out of reserves. To smooth transition, to smooth changes in services. I'll give you an example. In a situation where people have been paying this much for a service, and so that's very generous, and we're going to put it up to national levels, and there's a rise, very often what we will say, we won't give those poor people the shock of that rise. This will come in only for new users. And so there is this kind of gap, okay? And what do? We make up that gap by taking money out of reserves to smooth the transition. And it's that kind of idea. And the interesting thing here is that in the past, there's been one hell of a lot of shouting at us. Why aren't you using reserves more? You've got loads of reserves, £200 million worth of reserves. Why aren't you using them to stop making cuts? Now we're actually beginning to tap into them, and they went down by £20 million, I think, last year. Well, a huge sum anyway. So to people are beginning to say, whoa, that's very quick. Our reserves are running out. What's going on here? So there's a question. £500,000 or not? Is this a good idea? Is it too fast? Is it too slow? And we want your ideas on this, and this is why we've got this budget consultation. You can do it online, and there's details on the actual blog post, or you can do it in hard copy. It doesn't matter, as long as you tell us what you want. And the first question basically says, have we got that right? Is that broadly right? Is that strategy, particularly the balance between back office and frontline savings, is that the right strategy? And I know what everybody's going to say. You're all going to say, we need to pay the chief executive less. That'll save them. That's fine. But if you think about it, are we pushing back office too hard? Ultimately, if you wreck back office, you wreck your frontline services. Are these the right ideas to try and save money on frontline services, or are other ways? And what do you reckon about this? Have your say on the way we're thinking about doing it. Talk in general terms about whether you agree with what you're doing, or with what we're doing or not. Question 2 then says, have you any ideas for savings of your own? I know full well, because I've sat with you in clubs and pubs and parties, and you're full of ideas about the way we can save money. I'll tell you where there's inefficiencies. Well, do, please. That's what we need to know. If you know whether an area where there is waste, if you have an idea of a service we could just do away with altogether, put your idea here. It really doesn't matter how silly an idea it is. I hesitate to say that, but if it's a silly idea, we won't be able to do it. But you may just tell us something that we hadn't thought about. If you have an idea, there's the place to share it in question 2. And then questions 3 and 4, they're about how we can do things better. Are we missing a trick? Have you got any ideas about how we can improve our services to you and our communities and our local communities? The only thing I'll say about that, if it involves spending large amounts of money, don't be surprised if we say, thank you, good idea, but we can't afford it. There we are. So we have to lose 15.3 million. These are our ideas for doing it. Please tell us what you think about it. Please give us your ideas for further savings, and don't be afraid to share your ideas of how we can do things better. And thank you very much. Please do the service. And I'll just say one more thing to you. And I've said it to every local residents group and meeting I've been to. If you tell us, we promise to do everything we can to listen to what you are saying. If you don't tell us, we'll do it ourselves. I know exactly what I want to do. And I can go to County Hall and I'll say, well, we need to do this, 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 and this, and this, and this. The reason we're asking you is in case what we want to do isn't what you want to do. If you're happy to leave it to us, we'll do it. Thank you so much for listening.